Alright, before I start today's podcast, you can sponsor me on Patreon if you want ad-free shows on the Stephen Shields radio show. You can sponsor to my Patreon page. I'll leave a link in the description as well. I'm also doing Q&As with that as well. I'll be live streaming on Patreon for all my subscribers, and it helps support the podcast, to upgrade any equipment. Patrick's back on the show. How are you, Patrick?
I'm going well. How are you, young Stephen?
Good. This is the first FaceTime we've done together. We've done it on phone.
Yeah, well, maybe I prefer it that way. The ugly face is too much for some people.
It's all good. Anyway, I went to Liverpool oral health clinic on Monday, and there was so much traffic, Patrick.
It's crazy, yes.
Still
still a lot of people moving around. Still, actually, a lot less than normal. A lot of people have good reasons. It's surprising how many people have good reasons to move around.
Why are they getting away with it?
As I said, often they have a good reason to do so.
I just went to the dentist, and people not wearing their masks, Patrick.
Oh, there's a lot of that, but people get kind of bored with it. Something I need to write down.
Has it been like that in Campbelltown?
Oh, most people are masked. Most people are masked most of the time. That I do notice. But I do notice that I stuck my nose in the shop yesterday afternoon and they were jumping.
Oh.
Everyone was shopping.
Yeah.
But, hey, that was... I think they do it because they can somewhere to go.
What's the thing about Gladys brought in a new rule about you have to be fully vaccinated to go to people's houses? I don't get that.
More subtle than that. Much more subtle than that. What they're saying is that to do a lot of things that we're kind of getting away with doing now, you're going to have to be vaccinated to do in the future. Now, I don't know about... I heard something about visiting people, but I'm not quite sure what it was. I think it was you might have a party or something.
So how do you let people in who are vaccinated? I don't get that.
Well, at visiting people's homes, if you're on the honour basis. However, what they're doing is if you want to go into a restaurant, when they open up in about a month's time, they're talking still, you'll have to produce a vaccination certificate to get in.
You just download that from your...
And what they're going to be doing is they're going to link it to the QR code. So when you bang on your QR code, it pulls you up, and then it has a flash on it, vaccinated. I mean, I've already got the vaccination certificate on my phone.
Me too. I downloaded it from Medicare.
Yeah, and it's actually I have it in my wallet on the phone.
Oh.
So,
how do you do that? Is that from Medicare?
Well, it depends where you get it from, but I think I had to do it from the app rather than from the site.
Oh, okay.
And the app gave me the option of uploading to my wallet. Because I'm on the Apple world. You can get the option of uploading to your wallet.
But you can just download it and show them, can't you?
Yeah, you can download a paper copy, or you can keep the have the Medicare app on your phone and show them on the phone and then through the Medicare. There are all sorts of ways of doing it.
How do you feel about that?
Well, for 90% of the people who have good phones, no, seriously, I mean, because I have three friends who do not have working mobile phones. So if I'm going somewhere with them, I have to check them in. But for all of you with mobile phones, if they get that link to the QR code reader, the services app working properly, then that's a good thing to do. It makes sense. It's all very good saying, oh, we're all vaccinated, we can run around. We're not all vaccinated, and the bug still is around in a big way. We might have terrible numbers in Australia, but they're not horrendous. You know, I mean, they're not those horrendous numbers some other countries in the world are getting.
Oh, yeah.
Good luck, good management. To kind of say, oh, we can live with it. Eventually, we can live with it, but while it is around, until such time it's thoroughly suppressed, a little bit of extra care to help stop slow spreading is a good thing. To me, a little bit of extra care, a little bit of extra caution now will save us. This time next year saying, oh my goodness, we've had another 12 weeks of tight lockdown.
Yeah, how many lockdowns, is Melbourne in a full lockdown?
Not at the moment. It's not, I'm not sure how hard it's still locked down, I'm not sure how hard.
Because we're supposed to be in a full lockdown, but not really.
Yeah, the thing is, there are lockdowns and there are lockdowns. The word means different things to different people. One moment, there's something else I've got to do on this phone while I think about it. No, I just realised I've had an application running that was going to set an alarm off.
Oh, God.
Now, where are you? How do I get back to you? Seriously? Where are you?
Where are you?
I said, I mean, I didn't use bloody FaceTime. And why would I? Anyway.
You found me? Oh, yeah.
No, it's just like I went to do. It's just not stopping my... I've done a hell of a lot of bloody Zoom. But not FaceTime as such. But I suppose it depends on who I trust doing with my face and my picture and my information. No, I'm serious. I mean, I'm not interested in establishing another thing with myself.
Anyway, yeah, people are pissed off for
What's the emoji floating around on the screen?
That's Eric Cartman.
Oh, it is Eric, yeah.
Anyway, people are pissed off for Gladys Berejiklian.
Well, the trouble is I'm not totally happy with the way she's been handling it, I must admit. But I'm not pissed off with her. She's stuck in a rock and a hard place. Whatever she does, whatever she tries to do is going to be wrong. Like we said I talked about this last time. The whole thing that they're really making it up as they go along. Really, as they make it up, they just really don't know what's going to happen next. And so, whatever she does, she's going to be criticised for. She was being criticised for having press conferences, and has to be criticised for not having them. Now, here's my things like that. The trouble is that you kind of look at Victoria, which went from real hard closed shutdown, and looked like they were doing better in controlling it. So why did we do what Victoria did? We wouldn't be as bad. Well, when you look at it, This is a funny thing, is when you looked at this current outbreak, for the first 5 weeks, New South Wales was doing better than Victoria did in their second wave last year.
Mm.
New South Wales actually had fewer infections with this was the Delta, which was so much more contagious. Mm. So what happened to New South Wales was happening all right. All the cases I think I said before too, 1 or 2 people, legitimately or illegitimate, doesn't matter whether they're doing the right thing or not, to go from point A to point B, and bingo, we've got, a carrier, a spreader event, and it could be quite legitimate. Mm. Like all those cars you saw on the road, probably 90% of those were people going around proper business. Mm-hmm. And any one of those cars on the road could have had somebody accidentally carrying the virus.
Exactly, and people weren't wearing their masks in Liverpool. I don't know
whether they're wearing masks or not. I mean, because the masks only offer limited protection. Mm. And if you're driving along, you tend not to wear your mask anyway. Mm. I know the police are now wearing them while they're driving around because, strictly speaking, you're supposed to.
I'm talking about people walking outside.
Walking outside, yeah, well, as I said, I know around Campbelltown they do, so different things, different part of the world, and Liverpool was hit hard earlier, so you can't. But I said, it takes 1 or 2 people not doing the right thing, or even somebody doing the right thing and seems that's going wrong. I mean, the mask doesn't guarantee no transmission. It just makes it a lot less likely. Mm. Just like anything. So, and it's not like the Delta variant. One person gets sick. Mm. That person happens to go into the shop to buy a newspaper and took the mask off to speak more clearly, breathed out, somebody breathed in. Mm-hmm. Somebody else is sick. That person went home. That person gave the bug. And none of these people are feeling sick. And then all of a sudden there are 3 people who don't feel sick and carrying the bug. Mm.
Now, I had Mike Freelander on my podcast. He's the Labor MP for Campbelltown. Yeah. How do you...
I don't know him personally, but I know him. Yes.
How do you feel he's doing around Campbelltown in the Labor Party?
Well, at the moment, he can't do anything. Mm-hmm. You think about it, because at the moment, nothing's happening. The people I know who have dealt with him, mm-hmm. and I've had 2 or 3 friends who have actually had to deal with him, one reason, have been very, very impressed with him. Mm-hmm. They think he is the real thing. The fact that he is not a career politician counts for him, in my opinion. Mm-hmm. He's not a person who said, I'm going to be a politician at age 20.
Now,
well, half of them are that now.
Mm. Now, Kevin Rudd, he was the Prime Minister. Now, he got called to the Royal Commission a few times for corruption.
Not himself. Mm-hmm. He was talked about things that are going wrong on his watch.
Gladys was called as well for an affair.
Well, because she was in this unpleasant position of having to choose as a partner. It turned out to be bloody shonky.
Oh.
I mean, Darryl Maguire was a downright bloody shock. I think we can say that because that is exactly what the Commission has found about him. I can see that it says essentially that much of what he has done has been not 100% right.
You remember Mark Latham when he was running for Prime Minister in 2005?
Yeah.
Why did he leave the Labor Party?
Because they didn't want to be the Prime Minister anymore.
Oh, but he was popular.
Not as popular as he imagined. He was as rough as guts.
Because he's the independent now.
Oh, no, he's joined one of the weird... Hasn't he joined Pauline Hanson?
Yeah.
No, that gives him a party, which basically gives him all sorts of extra privileges. He didn't quite work. He didn't fit. He was as rough as guts. I know he was very, very bright. I actually taught him.
Did you?
In year 7.
Wow. Awesome.
I can't remember him, but I did. He was in my class. I remember the name from way back when. It was in year 7 when I was teaching year 7 at Hurlstone. But 50-50 chance. Anyway, I failed it anyway. But he was so to get into Hurlstone in those days, he had to be very, very bright.
That's in Glenfield.
Yep. But he was very, very bright. But he was very rough around the edges in the way he handled things. And he really didn't handle people very well. And to be a leader of a nation, you have to handle people well.
How do you feel the difference between Kevin Rudd and Julia Gillard?
I would have preferred to see Julia stay in, but both were very, very competent. That was a really sad... The fact that those two were fighting each other for the job was very sad. Either of them, or each of them was separately a bloody good Prime Minister.
Well, Anthony Albanese and Bill Shorten were competing. What's happened to Bill Shorten?
Bill Shorten has just quietly dropped into the background. He is... It's interesting, he was the one who jumped on Morrison going to Sydney last weekend, not Albo, because Albo kind of said, we won't touch that kind of family affairs. But I think that in this case, what I can see, there's not that same... I've got to get... There wasn't that same whole ugliness going on behind them. I mean, Gillard and Rudd, it wasn't only Gillard and Rudd involved in that fight. There were all sorts of supporters they had, people behind the scenes as well, that were pushing and shoving and made it not work. People just couldn't stand having a woman Prime Minister, things like that.
Well, wasn't Pauline Hanson going to be a Prime Minister at one stage? People were...
In her dreams only.
Nah, serious. Like, people were supporting her.
In her dreams.
Well, this is before I was born.
She had as much chance of becoming Prime Minister as Joe Bjelke-Petersen did when he tried, 40 years ago now, probably before you were born even. A classic, another nutter from Queensland who thinks because they're a big fish in Queensland, they're going to be able to win the country.
Sure. Like, was she a racist? Did she go to jail?
No. Oh, she got into strife over electoral funding and things. I can't remember whether they actually imprisoned her or not.
Tony Abbott had something to do with it too. Tony Abbott had something to do with Pauline Hanson.
Part of that fight, yes, because they loathed her.
Oh.
She was one of those people who unfortunately got herself loathed. Well, she was. Again, people voted for her. People think she's all right because she's pop. She says what people think, or people think they think. Which, if you know what I mean. In other words, she kind of says very simple solutions to complex problems.
Oh, okay.
She has very simple answers, so she says she's outright, we'll let you go home, things like this. Well, maybe she didn't quite say that, but close to that kind of solution.
Ah, yeah, so it's straight up.
A lot of people think, that because I can understand it must be right. And unfortunately, that's one of the problems with the democratic system. There's people like that have a voice. And fair enough, I mean, she is speaking for people, but unfortunately, she has afforded too much airtime and too much apparent power.
It's like, what's going on with the Independent Party? What are they meant to do?
Well, no independent party don't ticket. There are a handful of independents. Now, in the Senate, no, even in the House now it's critical, because in the House is very closely divided, so the independents, the people who don't belong to either party, or who belong to some of those fringe parties, I mean, what's his name, Kelly, has joined the Palmer party.
Clive Palmer. Jackie Lambie.
It's like that. And the trouble is, because the Parliament is so evenly divided, to get laws passed, they need to get 51% of the votes.
Mm.
The Liberals and Nationals don't quite have only just got that.
Mm-hmm.
And in the Senate, they don't.
Mm-hmm.
So to get things through the Senate, they need to get the independents, the minor, what we call the minors, the other parties, to support them.
Mm. Jackie Lamb...
Unless, of course, they put up a law that the opposition agrees is good, and it gets passed automatically.
Mm. Well, Jackie Lambie was with the Palmer... was it the United Palmer Party? Clive Palmer?
Was she? I didn't think she was.
And then she left.
Oh, if she was, she left because you realise how crazy it was. Jackie Lambie is somebody who I first thought was a bit of a problem, partly because she was with the Palmer mob.
Mm-hmm.
But over time I realised that she has more above her shoulders than her voice makes it sound like.
Mm.
She kind of has this this very straight and very broad, but she is not silly. She actually thinks before she speaks now.
Mm-hmm.
And of course she thinks before she speaks. She has a lot more sense. A lot of the other ones who simply go for the simple answer and say it.
Exactly. Like, I'm just fed up with these daily press conferences too. I'm not listening anymore.
Well, as I said, Gladys, I think that's really why Gladys decided to stop doing them. Because people were rubbishing her for them. People were running saying, why is she going on with them? Because, they were... But there's nothing new she could say. But she can make announcements, about policy things, and that's about it. I mean, the questions they were asking her were silly. Repeating the same question over and over again and asking, how,
They do that to the Prime Minister too.
Oh, they do that to everybody because this is partly where politics has gone wrong and partly how reporting of politics has gone wrong. It's become all about the gotcha moment, about the catching them out.
Even in the Sydney Morning Herald, are they doing that too?
Oh, I mean, the Herald. I haven't been following who's been asking the questions. Because I've actually as I said, I tend to just listen to the highlights because they only broadcast the highlights on the ABC, and then the rest of the press conference I'd have to go elsewhere to see. But almost the serious reporters, the serious press, try to get the politicians down in a long interview, in a long-term situation, and ask the serious questions. Rather than in the press conference, shout a question and hope for an answer that's neither here nor there.
Here's a question. I have the Liberal member for Camden, Peter Sidgreaves, on the show, and he says he doesn't want to be Prime Minister. If you're a local MP, Labor or Liberal, do you think he'd have a chance of being a Prime Minister?
Well,
or is it too hard?
Every Prime Minister started life as a local member. Don't forget that's how it works. I mean, the Prime Minister isn't somebody who comes in magically from a particular seat.
Clive Palmer tried.
Although it does help to come from an inner city seat. But, Gough Whitlam was the member for Campbelltown, Werriwa, when Campbelltown was part of Werriwa.
Wow.
You see, that's southwestern Sydney. I mean, that's the big south. Billy Hughes was for Lithgow.
Yeah.
Two Prime Ministers come back because of the way politics work, become Prime Minister, you have to have people who know you, and you have to have the contacts and all of those. And they tend to be people in that same kind of, I use the word club. We have people from around that area. You need to have contacts and people support you. That generally comes from being in one of the major cities and doing that. That's all. I mean, Rudd was a Queenslander from Brisbane, you know. So it's quite possible to be a bit of an outie.
Have you been to Parliament in Canberra? I have.
Yes. I've been to Parliament House once or twice.
Do you think there's a lot of secrecy in there, like the White House? They got the underground bunkers.
let's cut that back to 2 questions. First of all, the underground bunkers or the situation rooms, both the old one and the new one, are not all that secret. I mean, damn it all, they turned up in the West Wing, the television series. Think about it. And again, it makes sense that you have, in a building like that is susceptible to attack, you, at some time in its career, quite possibly World War II from memory, you start building a secure facility that where so control can be maintained. But don't forget that in 9/11, they put the president in a plane. They got him off the ground completely. So if something happened on the ground anywhere, he can fly somewhere else.
Wow. Now, how do you feel about 9/11?
And getting back, so that's that first part of the question. and getting back to Canberra, I haven't seen the plans of Parliament House, but it would not surprise me if tucked away in there somewhere there was some kind of facility. In fact, I believe at one stage they were talking about a tunnel from Parliament House to the lodge.
Wow.
I don't know whether I'm talking about that kind of thing. But then again, everybody knows that from the Houses of Parliament in London, there is a tunnel leading to the pub across the road. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Get back in time for votes. Yes.
Oh, God. Oh, man.
So it would not surprise me if there were parts of that Parliament House that are not highly advertised. And again, it makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, Parliament... Is it true that when they did the architecture of Parliament, it's like the Devil's Pentagram they built it?
Oh, yes! Oh, of course they did! That has to be!
And in Washington, too, when they did the white...
Pentagon you're thinking of, but that's not a pentagram, is it? That's the unfortunate thing. You'd be hard-pressed as being that shape at all. No, it is some kind of irregular polygon.
Or is that a conspiracy theory with Benjamin Franklin?
that I would think qualifies a conspiracy theory for me. I don't even give it that status.
What about these mysterious crop circles? Have you seen any?
No, and what about it? And also, it's interesting how many people have made them.
Yeah.
How many people have admitted to making them?
Have you thought about making them in your backyard?
I've got a big enough backyard.
I'm gonna make. Oh, God. Yeah, there used to be a newspaper called World Weekly News. You remember that?
I have heard of it, yes. I think somewhere in the life I actually even saw an edition of it.
Yeah, my granddad used to get them. It had, like, crazy things about Bill Clinton and aliens in it.
Oh, yes. It
Bill Clinton with sleeping with aliens.
Well, no, they were all Native Americans that he slept with. They're all American. None of them were Asian. They're all naturally born Americans.
What do you think's going on in Area 51, Patrick?
Oh, that's easy. That was where the Black Hawk flew.
Yeah.
That was why it was secret. They're flying the Black Hawk and the Oxcart out of there.
Yeah.
And they were the two most secret at that time. The two most secret aircraft in the world.
Oh yeah, they all were, and
they were terrifyingly advanced technology.
Do you think
Area 51 was just happened to be the place where they were flying them?
Do you think they were reverse engineered from UFO spare parts?
Technology is very, very simple. The funny thing about them is the Black Hawk Blackbird was not a particularly sophisticated plane in terms of it radically new. It was just very, very, very cutting edge all the way through. There's nothing about it that wasn't consistent at the time. I mean, the fact that when it was on the ground, they'd pour fuel into it, and the fuel would run out almost as fast as I was pouring it in. Until it got up to speed, there were cracks in it. Because they had to leave cracks, and when it got speed, it got hot, white hot, and it fill all those cracks up. That's why once it got up to speed in the air, they had to refuel it. That's also why they had to invest. A particular form of aviation fuel that wouldn't burn.
What type of aviation fuel was it?
Well, it's a modified kerosene, but it was possible to throw a lit match into it, and nothing would happen.
Are you serious? Because if you do that with petrol, it'll explode. That's
why they didn't use petrol or even ordinary kerosene.
So how are these engineers and scientists coming up with all these inventions with petrol to not make it go on fire?
It's a known product, and they know its properties. The real thing about petrol, or particularly kerosene, it doesn't really burn until it evaporates. It's not the liquid that burns the gas. That's why a primus works so well.
See, have you heard about those chemtrails?
No such thing. They are not chemical trails of any kind. Okay? They are water vapor.
And what about FEMA camps? Have you heard about them?
Which one?
FEMA camps.
No, what's this one?
I think there was some camps they were going to put in America, conspiracy theories.
What are we going to do with them?
I don't know.
Oh, FEMA, F-E-M-A?
Yeah.
Oh, what's FEMA going to do?
I don't know. They were putting quarantine people or something. Conspiracy theory.
Well, FEMA would be. FEMA would be responsible, or could be responsible, for building quarantine camps and things. Yes, that makes sense because that's what they did. I mean, FEMA was responsible for the mismanagement of Katrina.
Yeah.
Responsible for the management. They did good things and bad things, but things like putting all those people into football stadiums with no extra facilities and things like that was a disaster. So yeah, I can understand FEMA building camps as quarantine places or as evacuation centres. That would make sense. In fact, if anybody would have a good reason for building a camp, it would be FEMA.
Exactly.
But of course, once they build it, we all know that they're building it for somebody else, really.
Well, Donald Trump, he tried to build a hospital on the war. Did he get the hospital on the warship last year?
Sorry?
Donald Trump, did he build that hospital on a ship or something last year?
That's what I don't know about. Because again, the Americans do have a lot of hospitals on ships, and the American Navy has hospital ships. So I do know there were some issues about vague, but there's some issues about the confusing hospital ships with other ships, things like that, which is a real no-no. For the obvious reason, you don't want your hospital ships being shot up. You have to be doing something else as well. I've got a vague memory of something, but I'm not sure what you're talking about there.
I saw it last year in 2020.
Well, as I said, I can't recall seeing that's one slipped by me.
And you remember, what was that
A lot of pub stories slipped by me.
What about Homeland Security brought them in? What do they do?
Homeland Security, Home Affairs in Australia.
Yeah, what about the American one? What are those ones?
Homeland Security, just that.
The
point is that they have a Federal Bureau of Investigation, which is a police force investigating normal crimes. They have intelligence services. So, but this wasn't enough for them. So after the events of September the 11th, which is 20 years ago, they created a new department called Homeland Security to be a kind of a super paramilitary type organisation responsible for doing just that, maintaining Homeland Security. Jobs that really actually could easily just be jobs that really were already being done by their internal intelligence services, not the CIA and the FBI. It was just a reaction to it. Partly it was being seen to be doing something. And then we also got the same thing in Australia. We have what is called, and it's also, we have a similar something in Australia. Partly, one of the problems was that there was no central authority to gather all the information. So, during all that time of crisis, this mob were running away doing this mob were running away doing that, this mob was running away doing another. So they created the Homeland Security's job to say, okay, hey, you do this, you do that, you do the other. And we'll do the rest.
Exactly. No, it's crazy times, Patrick.
Yes, but then again, most times are crazy when you look at them.
Like Joe Biden's pulled all the troops out. Have the Australians pulled out too?
Yeah, Australians were out before America. And there's been a bit of a scandal about that because the number of Afghanis who had assisted Australia being left behind. And Biden, in pulling out from Afghanistan, was simply, that had already been started. That was actually already organised by Trump. So when Trump got up a day ago and said, Biden made a mistake in pulling out, the answer was, Biden did exactly what you said you were going to do.
Yeah.
Now, Biden did exactly what Trump said he was going to do. Organise it.
Yeah. It took so long, Patrick. I mean, this is going on since 2000. Oh, God, before I was born.
Roughly the end, just under 20 years. It was about a month, towards the end of 2021, towards the end of 2001.
Yeah.
I can't the exact date. That they worked out that it was A, Bin Laden, and B, that he was in Afghanistan.
Yeah, because John Howard was supporting the war as well.
Oh, yes. I mean, the original movement into Afghanistan was quite legitimate. It was about digging out Bin Laden, nothing more, nothing less, and Al-Qaeda.
Yeah.
Of course, as they discovered, as anybody who's gone into Afghanistan discovered, it ain't easy going to Afghanistan and succeeding.
But
if you're not
the Americans went there because of oil.
No, there's no oil in Afghanistan.
Isn't there?
No.
Oh, what other countries got the oil that they wanted? In the poppy fields.
Oh, the poppy fields. I don't know what poppy fields. I mean, any poppies that the Americans really need comes from Tasmania. No, seriously.
Wow.
Tasmania is the biggest producer of the opium in the world.
Hmm.
No. Basically, it is where Afghanistan sits. It's this kind of pivotal little place between Iran, Pakistan, and what are now the stands. Those I'm not sure which stands sits on top of it, but used to be the Soviet Union, Russia. So it's where it sits. It's a central place, and they kind of went in, and then they kind of got carried away with, we will get rid of these Taliban who are appalling. And the Taliban were appalling. And it kind of turned into this whole, and nobody really knows what the purpose of being in Afghanistan was. No, seriously. Yeah. I don't think anybody does. I mean, I certainly...
War is business, Patrick.
Huh?
War is business.
Well, partly that. But no, this was also just this whole, I'm right, you are wrong. It was like the second Iraq War. They should have went into Iraq the second time around because Bush Senior didn't finish the job. So Bush Jr. decided to.
Well, why did Russia pull out from Afghanistan and the Americans take over?
For the same reason that the English pulled out, that the French pulled out, that...
Well, how many countries went to Afghanistan? New Zealand, Canada, France, Germany?
No, as I said, the original movement, immediately post 9/11 era, Tim, was very defined and quite legitimate. Here is where this absolutely dangerous organisation is headquartered. We will go in and we'll clean them out. Unfortunately, it got bogged down with the local politics as well.
Kind of like what we're living in today with the virus. Politics.
Okay, that's not a bad comparison. Yes, I mean, they started making it... It's the same thing. They started making it up as they went along. But they kind of lost their focus and just got carried away. But as I said, I've been across northern Afghanistan, and I don't know how anybody could actually fight a winning war in there if it weren't a local.
It's hard.
It is harsh country. It is vertical. It really is. I mean, it's hills and valleys.
Gets very hot and very cold in the winter.
Very hot, very cold. I mean, got some Afghani food yesterday. Now, think about exactly this, how cold it is, and in Afghanistan, one of their prized foods is what they call fat tail lamb, and it is a lamb, and the tail is solid fat. That's a sign that the whole lamb is fat. And as in northern China, their meat has more fat than meat because you need the energy because it's so bloody cold. You have things like that.
Yeah. Wow. So what's next? What's going to happen now since all troops are gone?
Do you want a Nobel Prize?
Yeah.
You tell me, and I'll get you one.
Well, my guess is that the Taliban is going to start attacking us.
Now, the Taliban won't come out of... The Taliban are a local phenomenon in Afghanistan.
Yeah. Well, they were called ISIS, weren't they?
Well, the thing is, to their east,
Yeah.
they have Pakistan.
Yeah.
Now, Pakistan is going slightly crazy Islamic as well, which is a pity.
Yeah.
In fact, so to their south, they have Iran, which has already gone totally crazy Islamic, but a different flavour. So there's no real space for them to move them because they're not a real alternative.
Well, who gives the Taliban all these weapons? The Russians, don't they supply them?
The Americans.
you serious? The Americans supplying the enemy with weapons?
No, they didn't. The Americans supplied, armed the Taliban.
Yeah.
Because the Taliban were opposing the Russians.
Yeah.
So the original major armories of the Taliban were American.
Ah.
Just as Hussein's in Iraq had many of his weapons were American because he was fighting Iran.
Mm.
When the first Gulf Wars were in the late in the 1980s,
Mm-hmm.
and they were in Iran and Iraq,
Mm-hmm.
and America was supplying Iraq with them.
That's stupid.
Oh, no. It's simply the enemy of my enemy.
Why would you supply your enemy with your own weapons?
No, they were our allies, in fact, because they were fighting our enemy.
Ah. I don't get that.
No.
I really don't, Patrick. I don't get it.
Well, it's the old saying, the enemy of my enemy is my friend.
Mm.
And the Taliban were the enemy of the Russians,
Mm-hmm.
the Soviets, as they were in those days, and anybody who was opposing the Soviets was an American friend, by definition. Because we were anti-communist. They were anti-communist. The fact that they were pro-something else that was worse wasn't relevant.
How do you feel about communism, Patrick?
A failed experiment.
What about Marxism? How do you feel about that?
Marx has a lot going for him.
If Australia was a communist country, how would you cope?
Sorry?
If Australia was communist.
I don't know whether Australia would be communist. The thing is, I can't. That is a hypothetical I really can't think of because there has been no single model of a communist country.
Mm-hmm. North Korea is communist.
It calls itself communist.
Ah.
This is the problem. North Korea. The problem is that if communism followed Marxist ideas, you would not have oligarchs, single, highly powerful individuals controlling the country. That's not what Marx was talking about.
Well, why is King Jong-un a dictator and he can do what he wants?
Because it's one of those weird things. You get yourself into power.
Mm-hmm.
You get the army on side.
Mm-hmm.
You build an infrastructure that kind of works. And then just inertia.
But see, is China a communist country?
That question is almost unanswerable.
Are you serious?
The word doesn't mean anything. That's the problem. I don't think the word communism actually means anything nowadays. I think the word actually doesn't mean anything except as a label to attack people with.
Well, Russia was communist.
Not really.
In Second World War.
Not really.
You're a Stalin.
Not really.
Why is that?
Because, as I said, my understanding of Marx would absolutely be horrified by the idea of a dictator running the country. That's not communism according to Marx. In Marxist communism, the people down on the ground level would be collectively deciding what they were going to do. In other words, it would be an absolutely participatory democracy. That's what Marx saw. So what we got instead were revolutions. And when you have a revolution and an overthrow, a powerful overthrow, the problem is revolutionaries end up running the country.
A revolution.
And the revolutionists are often power hungry themselves. What happened was that after the Russian Revolution, one autocracy, the Tsarist system, was replaced by another autocracy, namely the Politburo.
What about, there's another one, there's capitalism as well.
Yeah, well, capitalism, again, also an experiment that has never really been tried. The thing is that these are all labels.
There was the Industrial Revolution as well.
Okay, the Industrial Revolution led to capitalism as we know it. Because capitalism is the control of wealth and the accumulation of capital, that is wealth, by controlling the resources, by controlling the means of production by individuals.
Do you feel now that there's too much control in society now about what you should say and what you shouldn't say?
I must admit there are times I get a little bit worried about this so-called political correctness. But then again, there are times when I think that maybe what we were allowed to get away with when I was a kid was pretty bloody wrong too.
Yeah.
The problem is we tend to go between extremes.
America's worse for that.
Yes, America's an interesting one. Again, we can't be certain. Again, I'm not in America. No, I'm serious.
Yeah.
I am not in, to use that lovely term, Main Street America in particular. I really have no idea of knowing what the average American thinks or does. But I only see news reports and television shows. And they're all edited highlights. You think about it, they're all the edited highlights. So what are the concerns of those people who are writing these shows and writing these reports is not necessarily what most people in America give a damn about. And this is where, the whole political process again becomes problematic.
Yeah, I'm fed up with these protests, Patrick, going on.
Oh, well, again, they're a bit misguided.
Why are they going ahead and how are people getting away with these protests?
They're not getting away with it. Tuesday of last week.
Yeah.
The police were busily arresting people down in Campbelltown.
In Campbelltown?
Yes, there was a big protest last week. I think it was Tuesday of last week. There's a big protest that went on and on and on. Might have been the week before. Made the news, but not in Campbelltown. But, the police were everywhere. Basically, because, we and actually, when I kind of drove by, it was all very, very quiet and very, very polite. So I think they'd managed to kind of just squelch it without having to come down hard on them. But the trouble is, it's very easy to organise a protest. They're very easy to get one going. And it's quite hard to stop one once it starts rolling without looking like the bad guys. If the police came in and heavily stopped it, they start looking like the bad guys.
Oh, so there's politics involved in that too.
Well, not politics, perception, mate. So they have to, as far as possible, handle it quietly and just shuffle the people off and persuade them and talk, and rather than escalating it. Yeah. And then eventually it comes down to that handful, that last 50 or so. Then that's what you then see on the TV.
Oh my God, I don't know what's next, Patrick, for the world.
What's next for the world? Well, in the near future, a little bit more rain in Campbelltown. That's about it, as far as I'm concerned.
But is the NRL going to be played in Queensland this year, the grand final, or they're moving it to Sydney?
Oh, it's already organised for Brisbane.
Oh, wow!
That was another week.
Yeah.
However, it looks like Brisbane might have to shut down.
Oh no!
And if Brisbane has to shut down, they'll have to go to Rockies.
Oh, that'll be good, playing a local country town.
Yeah. maybe probably Townsville, actually.
Yeah.
Where the Cowboys play.
It'll be a small stadium.
Oh, Townsville is it's a major stadium.
Mm.
But don't forget the Cowboys are a major team.
Mm.
As I said, they're talking about that. As I said, that was just a throwaway line.
Yeah. What about AFL? Where are they doing the AFL grand final?
Perth?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Well, except they've been playing in Queensland.
Mm.
Yeah, but Perth, yeah.
Yeah. Man, they could have just moved the NRL to Perth too. Or South Australia.
No, Brisbane is... Why? No, you take them somewhere where the game's played.
Yeah.
It's not played in Perth or South Australia, not really. I mean, there was a team from Perth once upon a time.
But AFL's played in South Australia and Perth.
Yeah, the AFL is played in South Australia. The AFL has two major teams in Perth, two in South Australia. So there's a following over there.
Yeah, how come there's no teams in the Northern Territory?
Because there are no people in the Northern Territory.
Oh,
Darwin is a big country town.
yeah. They should. Played in the dry season.
Yeah. Well, they were talking about playing some of the games up in that Darwin area.
Yeah.
So yeah, that was actually thrown around one of the possibilities.
It'll just get bloody hot, that's all.
Yeah.
You know. But yeah, sport's complicated these days.
Well, you got the sport, then you've got the business of sport.
Politics of sport.
Then you've got politics of the business of sport. And then you've got bits of the politics of sport. And then you've
Oh, man. Do you find the Sydney Morning Herald reports sport differently compared to the Daily Telegraph?
Not much. And the sport reporting tends to be pretty much the same. Yeah. Although the Telegraph occasionally gets a little bit more of this slightly more interesting report, shall we say. But no, as I said, I really wouldn't know because I haven't really read the Telegraph more than 4 or 5 times in the last 5 years.
Oh, man.
But whenever I pick it up, I find myself challenging everything that is said by their opinion writers so much. Mm-hmm.
How do you feel? Does the Sydney Morning Herald have advertising?
Oh. Yeah. But still, that is how they make their income. It's not their cover price. In fact, that's why the newspapers went broke. Mm-hmm. Because all the advertising was taken away by the online people.
Well, because if you subscribe online, you don't get the ads. Is that true?
Because the cost of production online.
Yeah.
You think about it, didn't it? What does it cost to publish online?
Zilch.
Well, not quite. There are actual costs.
The domain name.
Yeah, but not only that. Yeah, you have to buy the time, you have to buy the space, and you have to have the power and thing. But never the unit cost of production is never for you. So there's that.
I don't understand. Like the Sydney Morning Herald is like a price of a cup of coffee almost on a weekday.
Yeah.
I don't get that.
Well, what should it be?
The same price as the Telegraph.
The Telegraph is losing hand over fist on its cover price.
Is it?
Oh, yes.
What's that mean?
They are losing money on the Telegraph all the time, as far as I understand.
Because it's always been cheaper than the Herald.
Yeah, because it's always been cheaper than the Herald. Both in its quality and its price. Historically, the cover price was never designed to cover the price of printing and things. Wow.
Well, they're making their money on the advertising from Harvey Norman.
Well, I mean, the Herald gets more advertising than the Herald gets. Harvey Norman is huge on things. In fact, you buy the Sunday Herald, which I still get the paper for, is almost the Harvey Morning Herald because every second week there's a Harvey Norman wraparound on it.
Yeah. But there's the the Daily Telegraph app too. Apparently there's bad reviews about that.
Well, I wouldn't know. I mean, I use the app on the pad rather than on the phone.
You're paying about $30 a month for an app.
No, I'm paying for the content.
Ah.
I'm buying the paper every day.
Do you pay it yearly or monthly?
Monthly.
Okay,
well,
yeah.
I'm paying for the paper.
Yeah.
I'm paying for the people who go out and get the news.
Yeah.
Who write the reports, who take the photographs, who assemble it all, who write the commentary, and so on.
Mm-hmm.
I'm buying a resource. I'm not buying the app. The app doesn't cost me anything in itself.
But as long as there's no advertising with the subscription, that's all.
Well, the subscription there's no advertisement in it. It's interesting.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
If they're not putting ads in there.
Well, at the moment they're making their money, obviously on a balancing act.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's other newspapers called The Guardian.
Yeah. They don't have advertising because they don't charge.
Mm-hmm.
But they kind of get very unhappy to use it. If you read it too often, they track you with their cookies.
Do they?
Yep. If you read, once you've read 3 or 4 articles, they'll start saying, hey, you've read a lot of articles, maybe you should be subscribing.
Are they on the right or the left, The Guardian?
I haven't read enough of it, but my feeling is they're probably centre-left.
Ah, okay.
And then you've got the New Daily,
yeah.
which is solid with advertising.
Mm-hmm. Are they on the right?
They're more towards the left,
mm-hmm.
because they are actually run by the industry superannuation funds.
Ah, okay. So what newspapers are on the right? I know Fox News is on the right.
The Telegraph, the Australian. The Telegraph is very right. The Australian is even righter.
Yeah.
The Fin Review, even though it's have the same general Financial Review has the same general family, the Herald is towards the right because of its nature, for what it does.
Do you subscribe to the email newsletters of the paper or not?
I get a couple. I get a couple of their feeds. I get a feed from the Saturday paper,
yeah, which
is quite left, and the New Daily. The Herald, I don't. I get the weekend ones because they have that automatic feed. But I like to look at the paper. I just look at them directly.
Good on you.
I don't need emails telling me to look at the news.
But that's what they want you to do when you sign up. They've got all your personal information. They just start bombarding you.
No, there are other things. I get very little junk email at the moment, touch wood. In fact, the only junk email is actually the random stuff generated using my email address. You say, dear PJO, I would love to meet you. I'm a sexy girl.
Mark that as phishing.
I get all this wonderful... I get very little spam mail indeed.
My old Hotmail account, I closed that down. I was just getting so much spam and...
among other things, I don't give out my email address to many people.
Mm.
I don't actually tick many boxes.
Mm.
My primary email is still an ISP one.
Mm-hmm.
It's still a big font email, so that's slightly more... it has less commercial attached to it.
Are you paying for that?
That's part of the deal.
Yeah.
But if you have the internet, you have an email address.
Yeah.
Automatically. Yeah, but if you have the internet through Telstra,
yeah,
you get the email address. It's part of the deal.
With the email, do you get advertising in it or no?
No. Well, not as I said, I get a bit of spam through it, but that's generally spam that comes from other sources. Telstra themselves, no.
You see, I use one called Zoho Mail, and you can get a free personal account with no advertising.
Yeah, well, I said there's no advertising as such, because I'm paying for it. I'm paying it because I'm paying for I'm paying for it. I mean, when I signed up to get my internet access.
Yeah.
But I'm an old fashioned because I still have a landline and things like that.
Good on you. The good old.
I mean, it's so much like to have a proper phone that sits there with a proper handset that I can dial up, press the button, and I carry on talking. When it rings up, and then pick up and speak to somebody properly.
You remember the old telephones? You had to spin it over.
No, hang on. That's not the old telephone. That's a new telephone. I'm sorry, mate. The dial's a new.
No, the one that you had to spin and then it go back.
That's the old dial phone. That's new.
Is it?
I mean, they've been around. They've only been around for 50 years. But they're 56 years. They've only been around that's 60 years now. They're new.
And then if you...
The old phones are the ones where you had a little handle. and the little lady has a number, please. And you say, I would like to speak to 2618, please. And I'll hook you up to 2618. Now, that is the real technology.
Oh, man.
Actually, it was the dial mechanism. However, it is why our emergency number is 000. Because on the dials, 0 was the last one you come to. So you put it in and spin it all the way around and let it go, all the way around and let it go, all the way around and let it go.
And if you missed a number...
That meant that you had to do it deliberately.
And if you missed a number, you had to do it all over again.
Yeah, okay, but I said 000.
Yeah.
That's why we came 000. That's why in England it's 999 for the same reason. They went 0 to 9 on their dials.
What about American 911?
That's because they didn't invent the idea of a single number until they had push buttons. And all those two were designed so that you couldn't do it accidentally. Because on the old dial phone, how it actually worked was that it would click, as it came back, it clicks down the line by breaking the circuit. And you can do the same thing by jiggling the handset. And it's quite possible for somebody to pick up the handset, and kids used to do it. And you jiggle the handset, go like that, go like that, go like that, and you've actually dialed 000. Or 111.
Yeah.
And it's easy also to, if a kid's playing with it, they're more likely to go 1, 1, 1 than all the way around 9, 9, 9. So it actually made something that had to be done deliberately, but was very easy without a mistake. We just embedded it in the last hole, dragged it all the way around and let it go. Stop the accidentals.
You know, when you call 000 or any emergency, your phone location...
You don't call 000, you call 000.
Oh.
000 is 666.
Ah.
Don't forget, because O is on the number 6, isn't it?
No, anyway, your phone location turns on automatically.
Exactly, yeah, of course it does.
Wow.
That's what when you think about it, look, basically your phone identifier is turned on automatically. The location services don't, because they don't have the same capacity to get those location services down the line unless you actually signal it to them. But certainly your phone identifier is turned on. You can't make a private call or an unidentified caller from 000.
No, you can't.
You call 000, they will know the number you're calling from, so they'll know where that call is coming from. If you're calling from a mobile phone, they'll know where that mobile phone is to within the tower and things. As anybody's ever watched any of these science shows now, there's criminal science shows, CSI and things.
How do the authorities tap your phone and listen into your conversation?
Well, that's easy peasy.
Is it?
Think about it. Slightly more difficult with mobile phones.
Is it?
Yeah, because mobile phones there's a level of encryption.
Mm-hmm.
But think about it on a landline.
Yeah.
I pick up the phone and I dial. That signal is going along a physical line.
Mm.
It's not very hard to intercept that physical line and take that signal out. It's just a matter of throwing a switch, literally. Now, with mobile phones, this goes from here, it goes to a tower, it goes to a cell, but it has to get to you.
Mm.
It has to go through a switching service. So to tap mobile phones, they have to get to the switching service.
Mm.
The trouble is, because there are multiple switching services, because mobile phones move around, it's much harder to track a mobile phone.
Mm.
But that's how they did it. Unless, of course, you did as the authorities did last year with that anon phone system, and they simply built the phone so that it automatically reported everything that was being done to the authorities.
Mm.
The tap was built into the phone.
Yeah.
So every time I rang you on the phone, it also rang them. Piece of nastiness. That's how it works.
Oh, God.
So all these crooks say, oh, well, I'm going to be able to send you 250 grams of this stuff, 40 grams, oh, that's a good one. Think it was worth following up? Yeah. And the funny thing about that was, of course, they actually let quite a lot of deals go through.
Mm.
Because more and more people were using it, and eventually they had enough to be able to catch hundreds of people.
You know...
And see, one of the reasons why they let it go through was the same reason why occasionally the Allies let U-boats through in the Atlantic, even though they knew where they were.
See,
so the other side weren't aware that they actually knew what they were up to.
Here's a question. A police radar detector is illegal. Why is that?
I really am not sure about that. It's just one of these ones that always kind of puzzle. I think because the intention of the radar detector is implicitly, implicitly you're saying, I want to be able to be speed and not get caught. Now, why else would I have radar? I want to be able to speed and not get caught.
See,
that is basically the reason for owning radar. I want to break the law and not get caught.
The police have got these technology, they can, I don't know, they got these radars can see you from a kilometre away or something?
I don't think that's around yet. I do know, that would be very surprising indeed.
Hmm.
And it would not actually be very functional, if you think about it. Mm-hmm. Because very few places in Australia would there be only one road in the car in a kilometre radius. So if you think about it, that one doesn't make sense.
Oh, there was talks on the news that they were going to pull people up on their phones from a kilometre away.
Oh, that's another story.
Hmm.
Oh, that they have a lot of capacity for identifying cars. But I don't know about this kilometre radius because in a kilometre they couldn't see you.
Hmm.
Yeah, but in most cases, because of the way the road is shaped, but they wouldn't even know where you were necessarily.
Hmm.
But you might be, if you're a kilometre away, which split you in even. No, I'm not sure what that is about. So that one doesn't really make sense as you describe it. Mm-hmm. I think there's something in that story that I think that you missed on the hearing of.
Yeah, I think it was in the Telegraph.
Oh, well, and I said. No, I said I'm really not quite sure exactly what that, as described, what's saying doesn't matter. I mean, they can. No, I'm not sure I'm not even sure. I mean, with things like the phones, you might notice that on a lot of the intersections now, sitting right on the very top of the gantries, there's a camera. Mm-hmm. That is a phone camera.
Ah.
because they're actually looking down into the cars continuously, whereas the traffic, the speeder and the red light cameras are all at road level.
Mm.
They're looking for something different.
Mm.
But those ones way up in the country. There's one, actually on the where the bypass. They're on the road, the bypass.
Mm.
You kind of look up there and see that little up at the very top there. Smile, you're on camera.
Oh, God. Oh, my God. It's interesting with the police force, Patrick. Detectives can spy on you without being caught.
They have rules about what they're allowed to or not allowed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And any kind of observation
Yeah.
beyond basically using the eyeballs and maybe cameras
Mm-hmm.
requires a warrant.
Well, that's what they'll do. They'll put cameras in your house.
No, that requires a warrant.
Ah, okay.
Anything that involves eyeballs and a held camera basically requires a warrant.
You should watch that show on Amazon Prime, Espionage.
I haven't watched it. Maybe I should. I've got Amazon Prime available. I haven't watched it.
They talk about the FBI doing all this stuff to people who were giving top secret military documents to China and all that. They even go through your garbage too.
Oh, well, going through the garbage has been standard procedure.
Is it?
That's been standard procedure for the last 50 years, 60 years. I mean, I heard about that 60 years ago.
I never.
Well, I mean, that's always been standard procedure. That's standard criminology 101. Certainly spike, and certainly in the espionage game, you find out all sorts of things about a person by looking through this rubbish. Well, the thing is, what you throw out, you throw out notes, things you've written yourself, you throw out things about your behavioural patterns.
Mm.
They've actually get a picture of you. It's not necessarily always very useful. But if you're living a slightly suspect life and you're not careful, then go.
Mm. It's crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, but certainly going through the rubbish has been quite a standard.
Oh, my God.
And there's a fascinating things about that when and where it's legal.
Mm-hmm.
Now, because the thing is, there are all sorts of rules. Actually, there are quite legal considerations about that. That's rather fun. Is it yours? Is it the council's?
Mm. What about going through the mail? Will the police go through your mail?
And if they try that without a warrant, they're in the hoop. You need a warrant to go. You need a warrant to basically go through the mail, to tap a telephone, to put a camera in, to put microphones in. Interestingly, to record a conversation in voice, you need a warrant, but I don't think you need one to film. It's interesting.
Yeah.
But basically, there are all sorts of things like that.
Exactly.
Now, there are all sorts of rules, so they don't really have... And don't forget, we're Australia, not America.
Mm-hmm.
Different rules.
You know what I've noticed, Patrick, is we have all these rights in Australia and rules and no one tells us.
Oh, no. What do you mean no one tells them? I mean, who told me?
Like, I've been to the Campbelltown Legal Aid and they have these pamphlets and they tell you, oh, you can get help for this and this and this.
Yeah, I mean things like all these services, yes. I mean, the trouble with that is that a lot of these helps they're not hidden. They're trying to advertise them, but the trouble is, unfortunately, again, it costs money to... I mean, who are they going to tell? That same information is almost certainly available at the local library. Things like that. But a lot of this stuff is published.
Yeah. What's the difference between a legal aid and a normal solicitor?
How much do they get paid and who pays them?
Oh, because the government funds legal aid, don't they?
Legal aid is an employed solicitor. when in the legal aid situation, they are employed solicitors.
Yeah.
They're solicitors, but they're employed. So the government employs them, or the government actually pays them. They might be contracting, or might be casual work in the strict sense of the word. So, I mean, if you were banked up on charges and you can't afford a lawyer, then the court-appointed lawyer might actually be just an ordinary regular lawyer who is working at that stage as a legal aid lawyer. But the legal aid service itself is a formally government set up body that employs lawyers, and they are solicitors.
They are very good, but they're very slow, and there's a lot of paperwork.
Well, there's a lot of paperwork in any law process.
Even a private one, if you're paying it out of your pocket.
Oh yeah,
shit.
Yeah, there's all paperwork. Well, there's paperwork involved. But for legal aid, there is paperwork to make sure that you are doing the right thing. In other words, you're actually entitled to get it. You're not just ripping them off. And B, to build up a fence around it, to make sure that it's actually handled. A lot of it's procedural. To make sure that the right person is doing the right thing.
Here's a question about lawyers and to my listeners. Why is it that if lawyers lose a case, they get bad reputation? I've heard. I've never understood that.
Sorry?
If they lose a court case, they get a bad reputation?
Well, it depends how they lose. A lawyer's reputation is basically his central thing that he has. I mean, think about it. That's all he has is his reputation. Because for the general body on the street, we can't go through and assess all his formal training and his actual skills. All we can go is what people have said about what they've had with him. So, I mean, if a lawyer messes up a lot of cases, he will get a poor reputation, yes. But there are very successful lawyers who have lost very high-profile cases. That hasn't affected reputation at all.
So there's barristers, Patrick, they'll charge $11,000 a day.
Yeah.
That's fucking expensive.
Yeah, some charge quite a lot less.
Fuck, why do they charge so much, a barrister?
Well, what is a barrister?
Aren't they like the top lawyers or solicitors?
They are not solicitors. The thing is, they're not solicitors. A barrister is a specialist.
Yeah.
Just like in medicine, we have the general practitioners and we have the specialists.
Yeah.
If you think of the barristers as the specialists.
Wow.
And there are some specialists who charge a hell of a bloody lot. And because they're specialists, depending on the kind of case they specialise in, they can afford to charge a lot. I mean, the ones who make the real money are the ones in commercial law. If you are a barrister in criminal law, defending criminals, then you probably just make a good living. That's all, no more, no less. But there are barristers who don't make a fortune and don't charge $16 a day. And historically, there were rules about who was allowed to plead before different courts. If you wanted to go speak to the Supreme Court, you had to be a barrister.
Yeah.
I think that used to want to still the rule, but there's different rules like this. But barristers had to be briefed, and the solicitor had to prepare the case and hand it to the barrister, who then is the specialist. That's why they charge, because they are the specialist. I have spent a lot of time learning, honing my skills on this particular subject.
But there's no guarantee that they're going to win for you. It's up to the jury.
There's no guarantee that there's going to win in any case. Sadly, even if it's a criminal case and you're innocent. But certainly in civil cases, which is where the money really is, no, you can't guarantee a win.
It's up to the jury to find you innocent or guilty.
Yeah, up to the jury or the judge or... Yeah.
So I don't understand, like... It seems to me, lawyers, it's a business.
Well, that's... Again, it's one of these things that is not as straightforward as it looks. in the 120 years since Australia's been Australia, and in the 200-odd years since Australia was settled, there have been a lot of laws passed. A hell of a lot of laws passed. And some of these are very complicated and have very subtle meanings, distinctions. So a lot of law is about making sure that the law, or the legal practice, is making sure that the actual correct law is applied, is correctly applied. I mean, a lot of solicitors' work is things like conveyancing and things, that was just making sure that transfer of properties and things is done correctly.
Yeah.
Or things like that. That is procedural. But these procedures are not trivial. They're not necessarily straightforward. I mean, a lot of that procedural work is done by trained clerks and specialist clerks, especially people are trained just in that work. But the lawyer has to be able to bring that slight overview to it and say, hey, these details are all right, but there's something wrong about the whole pattern. So, but in criminal law, it's really a matter about, just, and this is one I really find I find it's always a bit strange, I must admit, the whole legal practice. It's about ensuring that the laws and procedures are absolutely correctly followed and that all the evidence is fully tested. The court case is technically about testing evidence.
Has to be evidence in a court of law.
Has to be evidentiary, yeah.
It's like Jared Hayne was guilty, but then the jury said in November 2020 he was innocent. I don't understand.
Well, again, you'd have to go through all the details. And it was the kind of case where there's who said what and who was involved, and a real absence of anything except what people were saying is the evidence.
So was it he said, she said?
Almost, yeah.
So why has he gone to jail if there's no evidence?
Well,
I don't get that.
Because in a he said, he said, and there was some other physical evidence, as far as I understand it.
Okay.
It boils down to, is the person who's making the complaint, is the victim, the alleged victim, believable more than the defendant? That's what it comes down to. Can we believe that person? And sometimes, because of the whole shape of the story, in these cases, there's evidence from other people about who was where and what the physical place layout, things like that. One version of events is more consistent than the other. Again, it's very hard to tell unless you've actually sat through it, and I have really never sat through a criminal trial to actually get this full detail.
Too depressing.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, the George Floyd trials on YouTube, I started watching, I just had to switch that off, mate, Pat.
Yeah. Well, again, because it gets depressing because you are hearing with everybody involved, I'll rephrase that. Most of the people involved have an interest. They actually have some purpose beyond just giving their evidence. Certainly in a trial like that, there were very few disinterested spectators, people who saw it who weren't in any way otherwise involved. So that makes it high attention.
Yeah, exactly, but that's what it is.
Yeah.
But, it's interesting what the world is. Other than that, before we wrap up, how are you coping with the lockdown? How funny about laws, like we have a mask wearing a law and people not wearing their masks.
Yeah, well, it's one of these ones, that you can't, as I said, who's going to police it and how hard are they going to police it?
They did it in Melbourne.
But who's going to police it and how hard are they going to police it? And what would it look like if they police it too hard? The social aspects of it. Well, like I said, I've not actually seen much of starting of the mask laws, so I've seen a different world of news.
Well, Melbourne they policed it pretty hard with the face masks.
Yeah.
They had a full lockdown. Yeah,
but even then, we saw what we saw. see the rest of them where the police weren't.
Exactly.
Exactly. This is the thing. We saw what we saw, not what we didn't see. And I think that's happened, as I said, so things like mask wearing, unless the police are around there in that area, unless they decided to raid in big numbers, it would be meaningless exercise. Now, could you imagine a couple of cops wandering into a mall where there are 100 people without masks?
That would be very awkward.
It'd be very, exactly.
You know. No, it would be, Patrick.
It would be very awkward. Oh, you just got landscape to be different.
Yeah, I had to charge my phone.
You have to charge your phone. I have to check mine too.
Oh, man.
Still 34%, so I'm still going all right.
Yeah, but, there's all these laws being passed, but they're not enforcing them.
Well, some of them are, and some of them they aren't. You can't tell. So I'm not going to, as I said, I'm not going to buy into that one because I said the kerfuffle about when they were heavily enforcing the law, or being apparently back 6 weeks ago, back in the Fairfield area. That whole one rule for us, one for them, one for us, one for them story. So, as I said, if there was really significant amount of non-mask wearing, the only way they could deal with that would be to send in a squad. You don't have to send in 20 or 30 police rather than just 2. And that would involve, that's an operation. That's just not doing it. That's actually setting up and organising it.
You remember the Cronulla riots in 2000?
Yeah, the so-called riots, yes.
People ganged up on the police, and it was like the police were just outnumbered.
See, when you think about it, the main way the police work is by people obeying them. Yeah. That was nasty.
What caused the Cronulla riots? Is this politics?
I could name a gentleman who no longer works on the radio broadcasting. There were some really nasty, ugly racism issues involved with it. It was genuinely very, very nasty indeed. So as I said, I've forgotten more than I remember about it.
I was only a kid.
Yeah, well, but suffice to say, it was just there were a lot of very nasty, quite racist stuff involved with it. There was a recovering Bondi from the wogs or something. It really was all about, it really was Cronulla from those evil foreign Westies.
Sure.
It really was quite nasty.
How long did that go for? What, a whole day?
Oh, probably not. Again, it's so long. It is some time ago, and I've actually forgotten the picture of it because it was an event. It was nasty at the time, but it was nasty at the time.
Crazy. But yeah. Well, great episode with you today, Patrick.
Okay.
Thanks for coming on.
No worries.
See you, mate.
Yes. Catch you later.